Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined in person with...
Yes, hello, it's Scott, as always
Hello.
in person. Yeah,
Hello,
I'm
Scott.
Always, even
Always
when we
in
were on
person.
Discord,
Yeah.
I was always just
You were-
behind you, like a little fucking creeper.
Well, you've always been a person.
I don't think so.
But no, we are back. We are in person again with a slightly different setup. We're still figuring out exactly how to do this in person. We've got different microphones now, so we're
Got toy
figuring out these
Davros to
levels.
play with.
Got Davros to
Yeah.
distract us and rolling around on the table when we're
We
not
need
listening.
We need a Davros to distract
yeah.
us from this mess. Holy shit.
We are talking about that Doctor Who finale, both parts, part 1 and part 2. I guess it's just kind of going to be an amalgamation of the wider issues of the season, because surprise, surprise, the finale fucked up the season again.
This is the 5th time in a row?
It's just forever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we haven't had a good final since Capaldi's last final.
Yeah.
If you don't count Power of the Doctor or the Giggle.
I don't count those because those are specials.
Yeah.
They're not finales. They're specials.
But they function like finals.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Power of the Doctor is not really related to Flux.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of its own standalone thing.
Which is why it's so good.
I don't know. I might rewatch Flux again soon. I just love it. There's something about that series.
In hindsight, I like that
how
it's
fucking
trying
insane
something
it is.
different.
Yeah.
You know, it's something different for Doctor Who. This is what we're covering today is kind of different, but kind of bad.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily... I think the problem with it is that it isn't different.
Yeah.
Like, what we're covering today, like, this finale is just repetition or nostalgia baiting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I despise it. I despise it so much. But we'll get into the bigger stuff, I think, later on in the show with the leaks. 100%
Yeah,
right. Every single one of them.
They even got the Rani on horseback right.
Insane. Is this the first time that the Doctor is fully leaked 100% correct before?
I'd imagine it is, yes. Because every major plot reveal has been leaked. I can't think of any plot reveal that hasn't been leaked.
Yeah,
like
it's insane.
even the Fugitive Doctor cameo was leaked.
Even Jodie coming back was leaked, you know?
This is it's just the worst time to be a Doctor Who fan, I think.
Yeah, it's a tough time. Although, I kind of feel like we're in the minority. I've been talking to people specifically about that twist at the end. Way more people are interested in Doctor Who again than were interested in it before. And they were like, oh, I think it's really good. I think it's really cool that she's back. I think that this is really great. And I'm like, how? Maybe I'm jaded.
We'll cross that bridge.
Yeah.
With the very final shot of the episode. The very terribly shot final scene of this episode.
Wow, an
Holy
incredibly
shit.
last-minute reshot.
Just her head over
plastered
Judy's body.
on, yeah.
Lovely. It's the easily the worst regeneration of a show, but then I think of the Sixth Doctor's regeneration, where it's just Sylvester McCoy in a wig with special effects over his face. To
Pretty
pretend
similar,
he's
yeah.
Colin Baker.
It's pretty similar regenerations there.
But yeah, this episode opens up with Rani on horseback in the past, and she's going after a baby that can grant wishes.
The seventh son of a seventh son.
Which is,
I don't like magic in Doctor Who.
No, we've had like 21 episodes to accommodate the magic in Doctor Who, and they've not done anything interesting with it.
It just feels like a cop-out. It feels like it's a way of doing what they were already doing, which was weird sci-fi things, without having to then justify it.
The show already was kind of magical.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
You
But
know?
it was always like magical, and then they would throw in technobabble to explain away the magic, you know, reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. It's blah, there we go, zap.
Did we need a magical wish baby to alter the course of
Surely you could just go back in time and change something.
We just had 2 episodes ago, 2 episodes ago, the story, the barber. The barber could have been fucking used. Harness his storytelling powers, use the barber to alter this reality somehow by using the Vindicator to boost his powers, and you can create this wish world that way.
Yeah, it's fine. You got a baby. You got to kiss the baby's head. Go. I'm glad that, or at least I hope, we have seen the back end of the fucking the gods now.
Yeah.
The last god being a baby, and then the last god being
literal baby. Just a baby.
Both of them were babies, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like even Omega, he was a giant skeleton baby. Terrible.
I can't believe we had this storyline about gods, and we never made the connection that the Doctor's kind of like a god. He is the ultimate god.
Yeah.
Why didn't they go that direction? It would have been more interesting to,
They
delve into the lore.
They kind of touch on that in season 1. I rewatched season 1 right before the finale, all of it. It's terrible. It's really interesting comparing the two of them because season 2 is the exact same as season 1, but just better.
Yeah.
Where season 1 has got so many like weird issues. Excuse me. And in that finale, when he's fighting Sutek, he's like, "If you are the god of death, Sutek, I am the god of life, and I'm gonna kill you."
The second final in a row where his old enemy is just a massive
big CGI monster. Yeah. Also, I know we're jumping all over the place. The Doctor using a gun at the end to kill Omega, I was like, fuck off.
What did we just cover like 2.5 years ago about why the sonic screwdriver is different now?
Yeah, I don't want the Doctor to look like he's holding a gun.
That just reminds me, remembering the 60th anniversary when he's watching TV with his sonic screwdriver and he's doing force fields, and we're like, that's going to play into the future, right? If sonic screwdriver can suddenly do force fields.
I rewatched the 60th as well. I liked that sonic screwdriver doing force fields and shit. It's kind of fun. It's like a little magic computer.
Nah.
It's like, not all the time for sure, but I think I just liked the fact that it was a screwdriver shape.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible looking screwdriver. But Shooty's one is just particularly awful. But Conrad's World. I thought the vibes in this were popping off. I really liked the aesthetic and the like Art Deco and all the orange mugs everywhere.
Except in Unit, where Susan gives the Doctor a white mug.
Oh, really?
I don't know why suddenly there's a white mug when everybody has orange mugs and we're breaking all the time. It's very bizarre about Susan, who just not Susan Foreman, but Susan Twist, who is now a dinner lady.
Yeah,
again.
she's back to being who she was
lady.
in the Beatles episode, because apparently Conrad watched that episode and knew that that's what she had to be.
My question for you, as somebody who hasn't seen much of Classic Who and has only seen the Rani through Dimensions and Time. What do you think of the Rani in this episode?
I thought she was honestly more interesting in the next episode than she was in this one, even for the brief time that she's in it. I enjoyed how they explained who she was when they were like, she isn't this maniacal evil that wants to take over the world. She just is a scientist who does not give a shit.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish we saw more of that. Because, we don't super see her do anything except be like, oh, I'm evil and there's skeletons everywhere for some reason. And then in the next episode, she just appears in front of everybody and is like, let's have a debate. Yeah. Let's talk about if we want to do this.
Yeah, that exposition scene that just fucking never fucking ends.
Yeah.
Where she's talking about being sterile and like, what the fuck are we doing? Rani suddenly being an old love interest of the Doctor or something. People say that they were in love, which never fucking happened in Classic Who. It's just a lore change for the sake of a lore change, and nothing is explored with the concept inside of this episode apart from the dance for like a minute.
Yeah. I kind of assume that every Time Lord has banged every other Time Lord. Like, you're around for thousands of years, you're constantly changing bodies, like, you're all sterile apparently, so why not?
So they find, jumping around a bit, obviously this isn't linear, but we find out that they're sterile because of the Master using the DNA bomb to commit genocide against the Time Lords. How do you find out you're sterile?
After the DNA bomb
Like,
went,
the Doctor is aware that he's sterile.
He
When would
tested
he
it.
have found it out?
off screen, he tested it on the TARDIS. He was jacking off one day, and the TARDIS was like cleaning up and went, "Whoa, they're all dead."
Yeah, it's a question of, like, how... Just...
Mm,
how did they come to this conclusion?
It's fine. It's another thing that will be retconned,
Yeah.
or changed in some way, or like have a solution brought into it. I almost wish. I mean, it's kind of the issue we had in Jodie's finale with the Master as well. The Time Lords dying is such a cop out, and I almost feel like this would be more interesting of an era if we had more Time Lords around, and you could bring back that way. You can justify bringing back the Rani. You can bring back other weird Time Lord villains from previous eras. You know,
I mean, the Master is still a tooth.
No one knows who took that tooth either.
No, because the Rani doesn't make any reference
Yeah.
to any teeth in this episode, so we don't know that the lady's hand
Someone's
takes
got the
the
tooth. Yeah,
which is another mystery plotline I just do not give a shit about.
Master's just going to show up again. They're never going to answer
Yeah,
it. At this
no.
point, it's no point in being like, I was a tooth, and then I got
fucking
turned it. It
ridiculous.
might as well just be like, I'm back.
Why the fuck set up a storyline like that in the first place, where it's just the tooth of the toy maker is the Master, and who picks up the tooth? Like, what's the reasoning behind
Just
this?
setups, isn't it? You know, like that'll pay off in 3 seasons' time. Oh, the show's been cancelled.
But yeah, one of the Ranis gets murdered by the big baby Omega who eats her.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, just goes. Oh.
And the other one, Mrs. Flood, teleports in front of the Doctor, and the Doctor is aware of her teleporting away. And then 10 minutes later, the Doctor's like, "Oh, I'm the last of Time Lords." You just watch Mrs. Flood escape.
Yeah.
Like, there's no consistency between lines. Mel, at the start of the episode in this alternate realities, it says, "I have no one. I have no family. I have no husband, no kids. I'm just on my own."
Mm-hmm.
And then her next line, when she gets her memories back, she says, "I was a housewife."
Yeah.
A housewife with no family. What? What are we doing? There is no consistency.
I was more distracted by Mel's weird wet hair in the second episode compared to. I was like, what's going on with it? Her hair looks so flat. What's going on with that? But what I found interesting in Wish World, to bring it back to that episode, is nothing happened.
Yep.
It was a really interesting vibe. I thought, and a lot of. But it was all exposition, because it was all like, we have to really build this world that we're suddenly found ourselves in and kind of justify what's going on here.
They say tomorrow is May 24th 9 times. I counted.
The towards the end of that episode, when the Rani is saying doubt every other word in the sentence.
I looked up the transcript for this episode, and the word doubt is used 29 times, which is an average of one every 1.5 minutes.
That's insane. It was when you said to me, you were like, take a shot every time they say doubt. I was like, oh, you're just being pessimistic.
29
It's not that bad. And then that one scene with the Rani. It's like watching Kingdom Hearts when they're saying darkness. It's like the darkness is here with the darkness and the darkness of your heart. And it's like the doubt with the doubt and the doubt. Or at the end of fucking Flux when it's talking about time.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've said time so many times. Like, this word has lost all meaning. What are you talking about?
The Wish Baby, of course, does the giggle that every Pantheon does, which is fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm over it.
I think it's all right. It's whatever. It's kind of a repetition of like the Time Lord's heartbeat. You know, the where there's trying to be this thing where it's going to be this recurring motif or this recurring sound that if you hear it somewhere as a Doctor Who fan, you can be like, oh my god, that's the thing.
Yeah, I literally just did before buzzer noises get into the splat. You know, the Master's drum beat.
Yeah.
He will knock four times.
He will buzz 4 times.
Which again is another thing that wasn't in Classic Who and was randomly given to the Master, and then it's never been mentioned again outside of Russell's original era.
Don't worry about it. Doctor Who's canon is loosey-goosey, you know? Oh my god, that just reminded me of the Jodie scene when they say timey-wimey again.
Yeah.
And she's like, is that still a thing? I'm like, fuck off.
Totally unnecessary cameo from Jodie Whittaker.
Somewhat unnecessary. I really liked it, mostly because it reminded me of what Doctor Who was, where I was like, holy shit, the Doctor's a nerd. The Doctor's this weird nerd character that wears one outfit and is kind of weird and like awkward and strange and a little bit alien, and feels like she came in, she was like, oh my god, it's the Doctor.
Yeah.
You know, I missed the Doctor in Doctor Who. It's amazing. And it, like, I really like Ncuti as an actor. I think he's great in the role, but I think he's not being given any like Doctor-ish characteristics that he can really jump into.
Yeah,
you know?
he's just himself, which is fine. Every Doctor is a bit of themselves, but in this case, it's too much like himself, or needs to be a bit more of an alien.
Yeah, he feels
quirkiness.
superhuman. Not like Superman. He feels very human. And which isn't necessarily a bad thing to have a more human Doctor, but I think we need little touches of those ideas of he's still an alien. He still doesn't quite fit in. He's still the smartest one in the room, you know, and knows he's the smartest one in the room and can be a little bit arrogant about it or a little bit short-sighted about it.
Well, this episode is like, oh, we're all your children, Doctor. I mean, everyone looks at the Doctor.
You're God, Doctor.
What the fuck was that scene? Why would Kate...
It's a really weird line to deliver. It comes out of nowhere as well. I always thought we were kind of all his children.
We're talking about the situation with Poppy, which we're going to get into. We're going to get into the whole Poppy situation.
Jesus.
We talk about Poppy and how she doesn't exist anymore, blah blah. And Kate's like, if you think about it, we're all your children, Doctor. I mean, like Shirley, Ruby, Kate, the hunky guard man.
The hunky guard, yeah, the one that's like, will they, won't they, with Kate.
Which we're doing too much of. They
keep teasing it, yeah. Like I make some more advanced. Maybe they're saving that for the war between the land and the sea.
Oh god.
Because that way they can like show full explicit sex scenes.
I just want some internal consistency in terms, even character arcs. Please give me one character arc. There's been no proper character arc this season.
I think Belinda, I think, is the most done dirty companion.
Oh my god!
In a maybe since Martha.
Maybe,
you know, like, because Martha like starts off well, but then suffers from like, oh, I love you, Doctor, and the Doctor's like, you're not Rose. Go hang out with Mickey.
Yeah, and then suddenly she's a unit soldier before she wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah. But Belinda started, like, at the start of the season, you remember how interesting Belinda was? She was arguing with the Doctor. Yep. She was confrontational. She didn't want to travel with them. Then the next episode continued on. She was kind of getting into the idea of traveling. Then for like 3 episodes, she just fucks off to the background, doesn't do anything. And then in this finale, she's like, I'm going to go stand in that box. I'm just going to take myself out the episode. Goodbye, everybody. And does nothing. And then it's like, I love being a mum. That's who I am. I don't care about anything else. I'm a mum now.
The consistency between episodes 1 and 2 is so bizarre, because when she has her family over in this wish world, her dad is completely absent, by the way. We hear again about how he's a bad singer for the third time this season. Yeah. We don't actually meet the dad. He was cast.
It's insane.
And they threw away his scenes.
In that the last scene with Belinda, they even mention him again. They're like, where the fuck is he? Bring him in.
But yeah, her auntie is like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what women are supposed to do. They're supposed to be good wives. They're supposed to be good mothers. And Belinda has like a forced smile on her face. Like she doesn't completely buy into this reality that she's supposed to be a mother. And then she runs out and does the big scream, and she looks fucking terrified about this reality. And then by the time we get to the next episode, it's like, oh my god, Poppy! I love being a mum.
It's all I want to be. It's all I am now, is a mum. It's the most important thing for me to be.
I mean, even the Doctor suddenly changed his attitude.
Yeah.
Like, suddenly he's like, oh my god, this Poppy is the most important person in the whole world. And it's like, first of all, we haven't had any kind of scenes that gives us the indication that Poppy is important to Belinda or the Doctor.
No, they just say we know she's important because they tell us she's important.
She walks into the room and says meow, and then like Sonic the Hedgehog.
She's a cute kid.
She is.
She is a very
She's
cute
adorable.
kid. Yeah.
But like, why?
Yeah, no, I never
Why?
really I never bought into it, and it was really frustrating watching these 2 episodes, especially like when Belinda was on screen, because I'm like, this doesn't feel like this feels like a different character you've written.
Yeah.
Very much in that last episode. Like, what the fuck have they done to her? This is not the character that we've spent the very little time with up to this point.
Everything we've seen from her so far, there's no she never talks about children at all.
Never once.
Like, even if you went back and threw in some lines like, oh, if I was a mother, I would do this. That's the type of film I would take my kid to see, or something like that,
Yeah.
Just, there's no indication that she wants to be a mum or there's something missing in her life. She just wants to go home.
But she wants to go home to see her parents that we don't meet.
Her dad is a bad singer, apparently.
Yeah. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Fucking embarrassing.
It's very upsetting because I like Doctor Who, and I feel like it makes it, it's really hard to have critical discussion, I think, about Doctor Who at times, especially online. When you bring up points like this, because so many people are hideous online, especially people that criticize this era of Doctor Who, which they criticize it for all the wrong reasons. It's not good, but not for the reasons that you think.
Yeah, it's a shame that the first Black Doctor suffers from so many writing issues.
Yeah.
It's, first of all, he has no character development or storyline.
They started
at all.
touching into it a little bit when his darker side was coming out, and he was torturing that guy, or when he did a few other things that were a little bit oh, this is interesting. But his biggest character trait is he fucking cries all the time at everything, which is just terrible. It's not a good character trait. This is the Doctor that was a big crybaby. You're supposed to be a hero.
Yeah, there's no character progression compared to Christopher Eccleston, who left very last minute in series 1.
Yeah,
he has a fucking complete arc.
Whole story. Yeah,
he has a start, middle, and end. That's very clear. It's whereas Ncuti is oh, maybe there's something going on here. Oh, never mind. They don't address it ever again. Speaking of stuff they don't address, Susan.
Oh my fuck!
What the fuck?
Oh my fucking god! That was terrible. I was like, holy shit! Susan's actually back. I can't believe it. They're we've seen her on screen. She's in the TARDIS for some reason, going, grandfather, stop! And then that's the only time we see her ever.
I mean, we briefly get a flashback to her in the TARDIS again when the Doctor's when John Smith is watching television.
Yeah.
Just before the worst cameo of the entire episode that shot on green screen with Rogue. That fucking looks terrible.
His Zoom background.
I was fucking convinced that they shot that scene with Jonathan Groff in a hotel room.
They shot it I saw
they shot it at the same time as Rogue.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I saw a clip of Ncuti talking about how he was talking with him, and he was like, "Oh, I just had to shoot this weird thing," and Ncuti had no idea what he was on about.
His role in the episode is to be "Oh, the tables are not what they seem," or whatever. It's very Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was terrible. But yeah, Susan, I think I've been reading that this has been part of the things that got cut in the reshoots, is that she did have a scene or whatever, and they got rid of it because they couldn't fit it in or whatever.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but don't drop the salt at the edge of the universe, because otherwise this entire season is going to happen, and we don't want a repetition of this season happening.
I don't know. I kind of believe it, mostly because every other leak and thing that I've seen has been true.
Yeah,
so.
But the rumor is that the final scene would have been the Doctor and Belinda at the dance club, and we have an actual photo of this scene. It was at the end card of Disney Plus, apparently.
Yeah, I've seen that photo.
Yeah, and then we were supposed to cut off to the opposite corner of the room where we would see Susan Foreman watching the Doctor and Belinda from afar, holding baby Poppy apparently, and she's like, "Okay, Mum, time to go home," or something.
Which is terrible. Kind of glad it got cut. Why should you taking a baby to a nightclub?
So they had either way, they had no intention of doing anything else with Susan Foreman this season.
Yeah.
Which is, she's 84. I'm sorry, but you don't cast an 84-year-old and do nothing with her and pretend it's going to be a big plot line.
It's really frustrating because it's kind of something that like people have been asking for and expecting to see. Like, when are we next going to see Susan? This is a huge storyline.
Literally over half a century.
Yeah. It's like this is a huge storyline of wanting to see Susan. What's happened to Susan? Can she regenerate? Can she turn into somebody else? She's another Time Lord. What happened to her during the Master killing all the Time Lords?
Don't worry about it.
You could and adds a whole other dimension to the Doctor again to reintroduce his granddaughter that he abandoned. But instead, it's just, grandfather, stop.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It's so bad.
There's no. Again, it's just something to generate content, which
it.
Russell T Davies is very open about. He wants to generate content online so that people are talking about Doctor Who, and
he wants them TikTok compilations, baby. He wants people to be sharing them YouTube shorts. Because that's what matters most. Not a consistent, compelling storyline that's going to make people want to tune in and talk about the show. No, we need TikToks, please.
I am deeply embarrassed to say I ever liked this show, to be honest.
It's so fucking hard to recommend the show to people. Because every time I'm like, oh, it's good. It stops being good, and it becomes very annoying.
Because I studied film at college because of Russell T Davies's writing. I'm like, that's something I want to do, and that's that's the only reason I met Matthew. That's like the only reason I'm here today.
Yeah.
And to look at his writing nowadays is like
it's insane. It's like he forgot how to write.
Nobody talks like a proper human anymore in his stories. I've been seeing 1-minute clips of his original era where it's just like Jackie Tyler and Rose talking in the TARDIS about stuff, and it feels real, it feels authentic. Nothing feels real about the writing of these characters anymore.
Which is so bizarre because I recently watched Years and Years, a show that he did in like 2019 or something. Incredible. 5 out of 5. Like, I fucking adored every single episode. Incredibly compelling characters in it. Some characters in it that then come into Doctor Who later on.
Yeah.
And just insanely good acting, incredibly good storyline, very well-rounded characters that are compelling and have arcs and change and go through shit, and there's conflict, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And we had the same thing with Chibnall, where it's like, you go and watch another Chibnall thing that he's written, it's like, oh, this is good.
We were very critical of Chibnall era, but I appreciate the fact that he was just kind of writing for himself, as you said to me. It's just like, he wrote what he wanted. He didn't write it for the people over at Disney. He didn't write it for the people at Bad Wolf. He just kind of did what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
It felt like he had control over what he was doing. It felt personal to him. I don't feel like this is personal to anybody. It feels almost like AI most of this. I don't even know how to describe it in a proper way.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel real.
I get that. It's with Chibnall's era, as messy and balls to the wall as it is, he, as you said, he was writing from his own. It was the stories that he wanted to see as a kid brought in, and the arcs that he wanted to see, and he put himself into it. He's a orphan. That's the Jodie's entire arc is about being an orphan and coming to that sort of adopted storyline, which then Russell bastardized.
Russell is kind of continuing that kind of storyline with the whole baby angle. He is obsessed
with babies.
I don't understand what the fuck.
Middle age.
But you know, like we get so many child talk about this episode where Virani is standing up on the tower and she's like to the other Rani, you know, you sprung out of my loins, so in a way that makes you my child. And later on, the Doctor gives a theory of what bi-generation is. It's Time Lords trying to survive,
which makes no
something.
sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
No,
at all.
and
Because again, you have time machines.
yeah.
So, like, even if the Doctor regenerates
Yep.
into another Doctor, the other version
Yep.
of the Doctor before is still around in various different parts of the time.
Speaking of 14, what the fuck is he doing this entire episode?
Chilling out. He's just chilling out, you know? He's
Where the fuck is Donna? Donna, it works for UNIT, and she's not being seen.
she's on
once.
holiday. She went 6 weeks
Oh
holiday.
yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she asks for like double the amount of pay. And
Yeah,
so
double
much.
the amount of holidays, yeah. She's on holiday, 100%. Rose is back.
Yeah, Rose is back.
Yeah.
She comes back. She phases into
So
reality
funny.
because the Doctor's like, "Oh, Conrad couldn't imagine a world where you existed."
Yeah.
And then Rose just stands in the background and does nothing the entire episode, almost as if Russell T Davies forgot to write
She's
anything for her.
I
Embarrassing.
I really enjoy Rose as a character, mostly because I find it hilarious that they keep bringing her back for no reason. She never adds anything to a scene. She's just there.
They do the same thing to Mel. Like,
Oh,
Mel's
Mel's always back, yeah.
Mel has been in 5 episodes of this era so far, and what the fuck has she done?
Yeah.
She's done nothing.
She was in Power of the Doctor.
She
as
was in
well,
Power of the
wasn't
Doctor.
she?
She out of the last 22 episodes, she's been in 6 episodes
Yeah.
and has done nothing.
Yeah.
Remember when Sarah Jane came back and we had a whole episode dedicated to her, and it was really nice to get to know Sarah Jane Smith? She did more in that one episode than Mel has done in this 6 episodes.
Yeah. She's alright. It's fine.
She's ginger, that's why you like her.
Yeah, I gotta stick up. You know, as Kate Stewart said, you know, we're plotting something. 2 gingers in a room. You know, it's always dangerous.
But yeah, of course, they are looking for the one who is lost, who turns out to be Omega, and the one. This is what Maestro teased way back last year.
Was it?
Or yeah, she said something about. They said something about, oh, the one who is lost is angry or something when her looking inside Ruby. That sounds wrong. Looking inside Ruby.
I assumed they were talking about Sutek.
Maybe they. I
when they said that.
think they said 2 kind of phrases.
Oh.
The one who is.
Well, it's like, who the fuck is Beep the Meep's boss?
Yeah, they mentioned another Anita who gets a really good role in here. Anita is really well serviced in this episode. The Time Hotel lady.
Oh yeah, hold the door.
And then Kate's like, I saw how you held that door open.
You wanna
for so
work at
long."
UNIT.
All you did was open the door.
She's obsessed with hiring people for UNIT. Every single episode, it's like, you've done one thing in this episode. Come work for UNIT.
And even when she's not hiring, it becomes a big plot point with Conrad. I don't. Yeah, I understand bringing back Anita because he kind of wrote himself in the corner with a cliffhanger where
Yeah.
the Doctor's on the balcony and he's going into the underworld. Of course, that's fine. I don't mind it too much. It's established. But
Yeah.
then we get an excuse for more cameos. Oh, let's flash back to.
I enjoyed
to
the
Matt
cameos.
Smith.
I like the Matt
Let's
Smith
flash
cameo.
back to John. There's too much Doctor footage in this episode.
This not just this season.
This
It's-
season,
it used to be like maybe once
yeah.
per Doctor we would get a flashback to other Doctors being like, oh, remember all my faces? It's like 3 episodes of this
Yeah.
season alone they've done.
You know,
that.
we had one in Rogue, which was
Yeah.
just last in the last year. We had
Yeah.
Rogue. We had the story of the engine, whatever that
Yep.
episode is called.
Yep.
And then we had episode 7,
Mhm.
which, you know, the Doctor's waking up and we get a montage of all the Doctors. And then just before Jodie Whittaker appears, we get the exact same
Yeah.
montage in episode 8.
Yeah, it's just constantly like, look at all the Doctors. There's so many Doctors.
Yeah.
Doctors.
Yeah.
Which I used to love, because it used to be rare.
Yeah, it used to be like one
know.
time an era, maybe twice an era.
Yeah, maybe, but it feels what the big issue is.
Oh my
with
god,
this
and even
season.
one of the flashbacks to John Pertwee being tied up to the table surrounded by Daleks is Patrick Troughton on the screen. It's flashing back to another Doctor montage from
Incredible.
50 years ago.
No,
Sorry.
it's the big issue with this season and this era is that nostalgia. The show's like
Yes.
eating itself alive, where it's like,
Yes.
remember Doctor Who? Look at all the Doctors. I remember these villains. Doctor Who.
Yeah,
And, you know.
it's way too much. Whereas, you know, when Russell T Davies came back to the show, it was gradual. Oh, we
Yeah.
want to introduce the Daleks again. Let's really make sure they are introduced in an episode that's written impeccably well done.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a little bottle episode,
Yeah.
one location, one Dalek. You know,
And it gives you everything you need to know about the Daleks. There's no information that you're lost on. Let's
Nope.
bring back Sarah Jane Smith.
yeah,
Dedicated an episode to her.
yeah.
Perfectly written
I think
character.
It suffers again this season and this last season. Not enough episodes.
Yeah.
They don't have enough time to flesh out, and they've got these huge ideas of gods and universe-altering realities and whatever the fuck. And it's like, cool. How are we going to have enough time to explain all of that and get to know and like our
Yeah.
characters in 8 episodes? Eight
Yeah.
40-minute episodes, not even
But-
8-hour-long episodes.
Belinda's only in 7 episodes this season.
Yeah.
Actually 6 episodes because you can't count Wishworld because she wasn't Belinda.
Sure.
She
yeah.
was briefly
She's
Belinda,
also
I guess.
hardly in the
yeah.
story in the engine.
Yeah,
Yeah. She like shows up like halfway through and then does nothing.
She shows up halfway through and immediately understands what the story is happening, and she's able to convey, hurt people, and shit
Hurt
like that.
people hurt people.
I'm so fed up.
Yeah.
This show, if we weren't doing this podcast, I'm not sure if I would continue this show.
I would, because I'm like sick in the brain. like my head is just broken and I like frustrating myself. But this is definitely, I think this might be my least favorite era so far.
Yeah.
And I fucking hated Jodie's era. But like
Every time a new showrunner comes along,
the
I
last
look at-
showrunner looks better.
Yeah, because I did the same thing with Moffat when
Yeah.
Chibnall came along. I'm like, okay, maybe I was being a bit too critical on Moffat. Same thing with Russell T Davies, the first era.
Mhm.
I'm like, maybe I was too critical of Russell T Davies because I really hated the Moffat era for a bit.
Yeah, I've always kind of liked the Moffat era. It's got some problems for sure,
Yeah.
but he's like my favorite writer ever.
That's fair.
Chris Chibnall fascinates me as a writer,
Mhm.
so I think I really respect him
Yeah.
as a writer, as an artist. His era is shit, but it's kind of balls to the wall insane,
Yeah.
and it's got some big ideas, and also it has characters.
It does.
You
it
know?
tries to have character arcs with Ryan and Graham.
Their first season's good. Brian and
Their-
Graham are really good in their first
Their
season.
character arc in the first season is very simple.
Yeah.
It's like, Ryan now needs a grandfather, and we're having that kind of like back and forth of whether or not they accept each other as family or not.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's effective. There's nothing in this era that feels like that at
Yeah.
any point.
Yaz was a cop.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I really liked the characters. I miss characters in my show, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It was what made it so good.
Like when Russell T Davies came back brought the show back in 2005, he's like, okay, what we need is character relatability.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is going to relate to Belinda, who feels so
She's just not there.
underdeveloped? Even
Yeah.
when she's, don't do this DNA test on me, doctor, but it's perfectly fine if you
I'll do
want
it
to
my child.
alter the course of reality
Yeah.
to give me a child and also
Yeah.
perform a DNA perform a DNA test on my child. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I can be a little bit forgiving for that last scene, mostly because it was a last minute rewrite, so it was like a fuck. Okay,
Yeah.
how do we fix this? And this was plastered on ending, but it is still shit, and you should. I don't even know if necessarily we needed to see Ncuti regenerate.
No.
If you kept the ending that we had, or that was originally written, where Ncuti's just off dancing in the club,
Yeah.
and then you're
You-
bringing Doctor Who back for like a special before the next season in
Yeah.
like a few years' time. Bring Ncuti back for like what they did in the Doctor Who movie.
Yeah.
Bring him back just for the opening bit. Oh, you got shot in New York.
Yeah.
Now you've regenerated. you know, and introduce the new Doctor. Like, we don't need to have him regenerate right now, although I guess they want him to do that so that they can generate buzz.
Yeah, generate buzz, make Disney want to pick up the show more, even though most of its audience wouldn't know who Billie Piper is. So the end regeneration just kind of falls flat for people who don't recognize who Billie Piper is.
Because Billie Piper coming, it doesn't matter if they don't recognize it, because Billie Piper coming back is going to make people make posts on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok, and then people are going to go into who was Billie Piper and then share it around and talk about it, and it's going to generate hype, which is going to make it look like a product that's worth funding.
Yeah, the problem with this era is it's too reliant on his original era, whereas, you know, the first era was like, okay, we'll make references to the past, but when we bring back characters, we will establish who this character is. We bring back Sarah Jane Smith, we bring back Davros. we find out who Davros is in the context of a 2008 two-parter.
Oh yeah, and he's great.
It's perfect.
Yeah, he's terrifying.
Stephen Moffat kind of did a soft reboot as well. He brought back characters like River Song. That's fine. River Song is his character. He can do what he wants with River Song. There's not much context required for when River Song pops up in Series 5. When, you know, Chibnall does his own thing again, he brings back Captain Jack. That's fine. Captain Jack is kind of his character.
Yeah, he did Torchwood.
He did Torchwood, yeah. You know, we bring back Captain Jack, and there's not much context to who Captain Jack is inside of that episode. It
doesn't really do much either.
A really fucking awful episode. But, you know, still, you can watch most of it Chibnall here and kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's, you know, and it's silly and goofy and dumb and terrible.
But you know, whereas here, it's like, okay, we open up on
although
David
I will,
Tennant.
like Power of the Doctor is very much reliant on you having some Classic Who knowledge.
Yeah,
because that is pure Chibnall fan
yeah,
fiction.
But it's also an anniversary special.
Yeah.
I think you can get away with non-stop fan service when it's an anniversary special, like Power of the Doctor is. It's fine.
Yeah.
Whereas these last two seasons have just been non-stop fan service.
Literally, and not even like satisfying fan service, frustrating fan service, because they're half giving people what they want. They're like, we'll bring back this character and do nothing with them.
Yeah, we'll bring back Omega, but make him a giant baby and give no context to who he is or what.
I keep thinking of that meme I sent you of, it was like the leaked image from season 3, and it's, I am the meddling monk and I must feed. This is giant like monk. The meddling monk.
Yes, that's a complete sentence.
Our audio cut out there, so if that was a weird jarring cut, it was yoinky splanky, I don't know. We were talking about the meddling monk and how that's probably going to be the fucking villain next season.
Yeah, because we are running out of classic villains who, like, I can't think of any more who we give a shit about. Really.
I don't know. It's been so long that I'm kind of like, I would like to see the Daleks again.
Yeah, the Daleks with Cyberman, the Master, or
just
Sontarans.
Sure, I'm a little bit sick of the Sontarans. They were around a lot in the Chibnall era.
But we haven't in the Chibnall era, fair enough. But we haven't had a proper Sontarans. We've only had like two proper Sontaran episodes of New Who.
Yeah,
the last 20 years.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to see them
Autons.
properly.
I'd kind of like to see the Autons again. You know.
Just any kind of monster that looks like a monster, because you're losing your key demographic here by not having enough monsters. Okay, fair enough, you have Omega as a giant skeleton baby, but that's like 5 minutes. I don't think children are going to be
scared of it. Yeah,
we need children to go into the playgrounds and imitating the empty child.
Yeah, they're not going to go into the playground and go, "Wow, I am Omega."
Or I am Conrad, I am racist. Like children aren't going to be captivated by these things. Yeah. Especially if you underwrite them, because Conrad in this episode fucking does nothing.
Which sucks, because I really liked Conrad as a villain when he first showed up. I was like, this guy sucks. This guy is the worst, and I don't like him. Which is like a good villain. You don't want to like your villains.
Lean into what society would look like if a man like Conrad was in charge. Because you do the whole storyline with the homeless disabled people, which is alright on paper, but it's just bad them sitting around being like, we are homeless.
Yeah.
We are disabled. We are on the fringe of society. We see things that others don't see. It's like non-stop exposition. Sarah Jane Adventures did the homeless better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We just did a storyline where Sarah Jane Smith solves the homeless problem.
It's a weirdly frustrating season, for sure. Also, Conrad gets off scot-free.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked. I kind of liked that idea that Ruby was there and she was like, you know, I could come at you with vengeance and anger and hit you and make you suffer and have a terrible life, but actually I'm just going to give you the one thing you never had, which is love and acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, and show you what that's like.
He's a chef at a bar and he cleans dishes.
Yeah, and then
for him.
Belinda has to be a mum.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, she doesn't get any say when she's in the position of not remembering Poppy. The doctor's never like, okay, you had a daughter like 5 minutes ago, you forgot it.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go back in time and give you that daughter back?
Yeah, exactly.
Give her some agency.
She only wants the daughter when she is brainwashed in Conrad's world to believe that she has to be a mum and that is who she is at her core. When she doesn't remember the Poppy, she's like, the fuck you talking about, a daughter? I just want to go on adventures and have a fun time.
When she is Belinda and she's, you know, when she goes into the time hotel and she gets her memories back of being Belinda, she is happy to have Poppy at least. But, you know, that's because of the conditioning that her brain has been through in this wish world. Is because, you know, she has memories of having a daughter. Like, now you're fabricating history to give her this daughter. It's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's annoying. There's so many little things that if you were to just tweak or change in little ways, you could make it slightly better. I still think it's fundamentally not very good.
This scene where Poppy gets erased from existence is
I love
very
that.
Good, where the Doctor and
passing
Belinda
back this
the blanket and it becomes smaller and smaller to the point where it just vanishes completely. That is a great scene.
Yeah.
But in context of the episode, I don't feel anything because I don't give a fucking shit about Poppy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I really like that scene actually. I thought that was some really clever.
it's so hard to make us care about a child, and Russell T Davies does nothing to make us care about this child.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're just talking about it from a perspective of two adult men who don't have any children.
Oh, we know.
We know of. So we're like, fuck it. Who cares about babies? Not us.
But even what the Rani has another reveal of who she is in front of the Doctor in this episode, and the Doctor kind of panics for a bit. But it's, if you're a new viewer, what are you feeling? Like, there's no sense of danger with Rani because they don't do anything.
No.
Yeah. There's so many weird decisions. They're just bringing back the Rani for name recognition alone. That could be anyone.
It could literally be any plug. You could call yourself the fucking Goober. You know, I am the Goober, and I will bring back Omega. Oh, I've been eaten. You know, I hated how fucking fast Omega died.
Yeah.
Such a shit scene. Such a shit scene. And then, like, that finale is like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
The first, like, 10 minutes are concluding what part 1 was. Yeah. And then the rest of it is Poppy, 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 Poppy. And I'm like, I don't care about this. I was invested somewhat in the Rani storyline with Wish World and taking over and bringing back Omega, and then you just brushed that all aside to be like, actually, it's about the baby from fucking the shittest episode from last season.
Yeah, when we were covering the Space Babies, and I was like, it's all right, and you thought it was the worst episode ever.
It's terrible.
Like, I don't think any of us expected Poppy
to come back to be that important
storyline.
That's the Doctor's daughter.
Like, I saw this shit late because I was at a Robbie Williams concert. I would recommend going to...
Was he a monkey?
He was a monkey.
Damn.
I would recommend going and see Robbie Williams over this. I'm not a big Robbie Williams fan outside of like 2 songs, but he's at least entertaining. He tries to put on a show. Whereas Doctor Who's like, we're here, I guess. We're just here. Watch us, consume us.
Yeah.
I am just so exhausted, and I don't know what I want to do anymore.
I'm looking forward to this period of time we're gonna have where we can cover other episodes of Doctor Who again, and I can remember why I like this show.
We have some David Tennant episodes coming up. We have some Sarah Jane adventures coming up. All of it is better written. Well, most of it. We do have the Mark of the Rani coming up, which is a snooze fest.
Awesome.
Also, there was a Flintstones set. Virani and Virani are just running around like last episode, episode 6, the TARDIS explodes. Turns out the TARDIS was here the entire time, just completely fine.
Don't worry about it.
What the fuck happened?
Yeah. Also, how did the Earth ever actually explode?
No.
Because, in the Interstellar Song Contest, they're like, the Earth was destroyed on May 25th or 24th, or whatever it was.
No.
And then we get to that, and it's like, no, they're in Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
The Earth doesn't explode.
The Earth does explode, but then they're like, let's just reset time again for some reason.
Yeah, so...
I don't understand why.
Outside of Earth, does the universe continue on? And that's why we were like, oh, the Earth's been exploded, and then how did Rylan escape?
Also, which world is something that affects the entire world? I don't understand the logic behind it, because we don't get a sense of what the entire world looks like. What does India look like? What does America look like?
I reckon that they maybe just don't exist because Conrad doesn't think about them. But
there is a point where Conrad's like, oh, I didn't pay enough attention, and now India is flooded or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he's reading stories about Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa on the cover, while Ncuti Gatwa is watching television with his child, and it's like you don't make a connection that you're on TV. You're on this cover of this Harry Potter book.
Doctor Who, yeah, it was a Harry Potter book. That made me feel gross. I was like, "What the fuck's our Harry Potter I guess Conrad's the type of guy that would like Harry Potter.
Yeah,
he's a transphobe probably.
It's better than Jodie Whittaker reading Harry Potter to herself when she's in space jail.
Yeah, but that's Chibnall's so out of touch.
Yeah, true.
That he didn't even know.
And plus, it was in the infancy of
her. It was just starting to be like, oh wait, hang on, J.K. Rowling sucks.
It was in the era where you're like, yeah, she kind of sucks, but I can kind of see where she's coming from.
She's got some weird opinions, but it's her writing's alright.
She's coming from a place where maybe she's concerned, but nowadays it's like, okay, no, she's not concerned. She's just a hateful person.
The mold in her house rotted her brain.
Yeah. What else do we have? The cup breaks going through the table, which is...
I liked it. Yeah. I liked the cup going through the table thing. I thought that was an interesting idea. A fun,
it is a fun visual.
Yeah, tables don't work like that.
But I don't think we needed that rogue cameo to tell the Doctor that the tables are not what they seem. I think the Doctor could have put 2 and 2 together. Like, I just put the glass on the table, and suddenly it's broken. I don't understand why that happened.
You could, if you cut out that rogue scene, you could make the Doctor get to the same conclusion by just cutting those 2 scenes together, where he's just testing all the mugs, what the fuck is happening.
Rogue, by the way, is he ever going to come back? Probably not. A, he's too in demand. Jonathan Groff is a busy actor, man. B, it's explicitly tied to Ncuti Gatwa.
It was very much Ncuti Gatwa.
Rogue is gay. You can't have Rogue with Billie Piper. It won't be the same.
I guess you could bring it in, and then he's like, oh, I thought you were my boyfriend. No, you're not my boyfriend. But it feels like because he felt like we were setting up a really important character that was gonna come back, be River Song levels almost character, maybe he will. Maybe he'll come back in a couple Doctors' time when we have another guy in as the Doctor, and then the showrunner will be like, oh, I'll bring back Rogue. That was a cool character.
To be honest, I don't care too much about Rogue.
I liked it. I still think it. I rewatching the episode Rogue, weird episode, weirdly paced episode. And I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she was like, I liked all the gay stuff, and everything else was kind of weird and all over the place. And I was like, yeah, that episode suffers from
lack of focus.
It's all over the place.
Lack of focus.
Absolutely. And also, they don't know what fucking cosplays are. They're not cosplaying, they're live action role playing. Yeah. It frustrated me.
this whole era has just been lack of focus, lack of
Yeah.
any kind of focus in terms of like what the theme of this episode is, what the plot of this episode is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you get rid of Ronnie and then it's suddenly all about Poppy, even though Poppy was barely a thing in episode 1 of this two-parter. Like, watching part 1, who would ever
The
think that
end of
Poppy is the most important creature?
The end of part 1 when he's falling and he's like, "Don't you realize Poppy's
Oh my
real?
God.
Poppy's my daughter." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, you
The
had...
Poppy's like the one thing in this world that I was absolutely certain wasn't real. Like-
I think you need to have Poppy be like 10 or something.
yeah.
Have a little bit of a relationship. Show them bonding as a 10-year-old, as when she's a 10-year-old.
I was fully expecting Poppy to regenerate at one point into like somebody
God.
else or like an adult or something and be like, "Oh my god, okay, that explains why you're going to go off and have Susan."
But you know, when
Um,
Poppy is only capable of saying meow and no,
Yeah.
that's her only words in this episode. There's no character to Poppy. That's why most.
Just cute kid, isn't
That's
it?
why in sitcoms, when you see, oh, this character is pregnant, like in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's like the baby is a baby for like one season, and then suddenly the next season, oh, the baby's 8 now. Because babies are uninteresting in television. There's nothing you can do with a
Yeah.
baby. There's nothing you can do with a toddler.
You could kiss their head and make a wish.
Yeah. Wait.
You know?
It's just still fucking really dumb. Why couldn't they just write a story where Conrad kidnapped the barber or something and used him to create this universe? It'd be way more interesting and build on what we've seen in this season so far, please.
Yeah, it's been weird. It's been weird. What else do we have to talk about before we hit the big one?
The guy who has a crush on Kate is alarmed by, alarmed about the Doctor being gay. 'cause
Oh yeah, I liked that.
Yeah.
That like 'cause-
Again, I want some more insights to what kind of world these kind of fucks want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no gays, no disabled.
And everybody's trying to report the Doctor and Belinda.
Yeah,
for-
it kind of reminded me of like, are you familiar with the game We Happy Few? Something like that. It's like this weird like British sort of like you have to Orwellian style like make sure you take your pills to keep you happy,
Okay.
and they like change your reality if you take these pills, and then it's like if you stop taking the pills, like, oh my god, you've not taken your pills, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then like everybody tries to get you. Then the game itself was terrible, but it was this really interesting
Yeah.
world that they built. This sort of, again, it's like 1984, isn't it? You know, this Orwellian idea of control, and everybody has to think the same and be the same and do the same, and you can't go outside of that.
Remember in Turn Left, it actually focused on this dystopian world, and we had character development, and you know, we go, you know, London gets destroyed, so the family has to go to Leeds. It's Donna.
Yeah. They
Wilf.
like live in the house with all the refugees
Yeah, we live.
and stuff.
We live
yeah.
in the house with the Greek man, and then we bond with the Greek man. The
Yeah.
Greek man feels like an actual character. They're
Then they
singing
take him
Bohemian.
away.
They're singing Bohemian Rhapsody in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Which is cute. You know, we get actual. In 5 minutes, we understand who this Greek man is. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah,
and
and
we
then-
feel so sad when he's taken away to
Yeah.
the labor camps.
Yeah.
And then Wilf is like, labor camps, that's what we called them last time. And
Yeah.
he's fucking crying. And even if you don't understand what labor camps are, you're crying because Wilf is crying.
You understand that something bad is happening.
Here
you know.
is just characters sitting around being like, oh, this is bad. We are disabled. We are we are on the outskirts of society. We see what's wrong with this world.
This, I think, like every single issue in this season and this era, it falls down to characterization.
Yeah.
Just a lack of characterization. Everybody is cookie cutter or just I'm here to say dialogue, and you never get a moment to sit and relate with any of them because there's so much plot and there's not enough time and there's not
Yeah.
enough episodes. And so they just have to cram so much in that they don't have enough time to sit and be like, let's explore this character, because they have to make TV for people watching their phones,
Yeah.
not for people watching TV.
We need like a spaghetti scene, which is when George Lucas saw the very first Mission Impossible, he gave Brian De Palma a note of, there's no spaghetti scene in this thing. There's no scene where characters are just interacting over lunch, and they're just eating lunch.
Yeah, the opening of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
incredible. It's just people eating food.
we need a scene of where it's just people having banter, and just we get little bits of characterization in those 5 minutes, like the opening of Midnight, where it's just the Doctor going around the room, and being like, "Hey, what's your deal?"
Yeah,
we need to figure out who these characters are, because I can't tell you a single thing about Shirley other than she's the scientific advisor and she's in a wheelchair that can shoot rockets
missiles and stuff,
and she can fucking shoot off at 88 miles per hour like in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you anything about Mel in this current incarnation.
What happened to the smart kid? He wasn't in this
Yeah,
season.
Lenny Rush.
Yeah, he got fired.
Got erased from existence and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Rose, there's no characterization to her anymore.
Yeah, there wasn't that much to begin with.
Anita just stands there and opens the door. There's no characterization to anyone at unit.
It's not even just a unit. Belinda doesn't have a character. Ruby hardly has a character anymore. She had a little bit. I liked her story in this season a lot, but she has maybe the most personality. The Doctor fucking hardly got any character in this season. It's just constant. You never get a chance to care about anybody.
No.
And
whereas, in the original era, it's like, okay, let's stop the plot for a bit and have these two characters interact for a minute, give them some dialogue where they are at the moment, have an honest conversation about what's going on, how it affects them, and let's get back into the action,
Yeah.
Like, fucking compare that scene in Parting of the Ways where Rose is at a pizza place, or it's like a diner place, and we're having a conversation with Mickey and Jackie, and it's just like, this is everyday life. And Jackie keeps on going on about the new pizza place, and Mickey's like, what do we sell? Pizza.
Yeah, we never really get a chance to feel ordinary.
No.
Which also, I think, then undercuts when the extraordinary happens. Because if you're here showing me all these wild fucking wackadoo things, they don't feel wackadoo unless I've had a chance to be like, oh yeah, I remember when we were just sitting eating chips. Now there's a fucking goblin. Whoa!
I don't even understand what's ordinary for these characters anymore, because when
they all love aliens.
When Belinda gets kidnapped by giant robots, she's like, oh no, I'm being kidnapped by giant robots, and she's not like, oh my god, giant robots exist.
Well, they established in the Ruby episode as well that she's like, well, we all know aliens exist.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so everybody's just okay with aliens existing, and society is the exact same. Well, I guess they have that giant fuck off unit tower.
But the unit tower that can revolve and change shapes.
Yeah, Tony Stark, eat your heart out.
This is the first episode I've noticed that giant wheel. Has that wheel always been there?
Giant wheel?
It's like a steering wheel.
Possibly. Well, they turn the whole building around. Yeah. They twist it. So I thought that was a kind of a cool addition, because before that, the building is just the Stark Tower. It's just the Avengers Tower.
The Rani keeps on flying around in her green goblin hand glider for some reason.
It looked dumb. The little flying Segway.
Yeah. What else is there? There's a lot in this episode. It's just
bad. Just all of it's bad. Bad and not good. Good and not bad.
The Ruby Sunday plot is kind of embarrassing, because you end up with Ruby not really having a goodbye.
Oh she doesn't get a goodbye at all.
That last scene is really confusing, because it looks like the Doctor remembers who Poppy is when Poppy is being erased from reality, because when Ruby is going over the whole inside of the TARDIS, when she's like, but Poppy was right here, there's a cot and everything.
Yeah.
The Doctor kind of is like, okay, there was no baby, I don't know what you're talking about, and then he fucking winks at Ruby.
Yeah.
Which suggests that he does know that Poppy existed. He's not telling anybody because he doesn't want to upset Belinda or something. So, and then they walk out to the TARDIS and they have the same conversation again. And I mean, that's the last time we see of Ruby.
It's insane. It's such a shame, because she was such a good-ish companion, great actor.
Yeah,
I absolutely love Millie Gibson.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Millie Gibson is another person who's really been underused. She's incredible in 73 Yards for her first ever proper TV episode, as just carried on her, you know.
Oh, she's a very
she's
very good actor.
phenomenal. Even though 73 Yards falls apart towards the end, my mum is calling.
Ask her, what did she think of the finale?
Would she abandon me in the universe? Because this episode shows Carla abandoning Ruby for the third time.
She hates Ruby.
Any opportunity.
I get it, because
I fucking
Ruby,
hung up on you. Why are you calling again?
Ruby doesn't give a shit about her mum at all.
No.
She just cares about her biological mum, doesn't care about her adopted mum at all. So I get why she keeps abandoning her. She's like, you don't even want me, you know?
And then they add another baby to her family. The Wish baby.
Yeah, the Wish
gets
baby
transferred to them.
becomes a regular baby.
Wouldn't you... Also, like, the seventh son of the seventh son, the whole thing, like, the family is turned into ducks.
Yeah.
And violets, and... Did we need that? Did we need it? No, we don't.
Yeah.
And also the dad, there's strange blocking in that scene as well, where the dad's family, the dad's kids are being destroyed, and he's just standing there.
Yeah.
He doesn't really run up to the kids, try and save
There's weird
them.
blocking in all of this season. It's in this in particular, the finale as well.
Yeah.
But I think that it just suffers from a lack of direction.
Yeah.
A lack of ideas of what you're actually doing, and weird scripts that didn't really think about blocking either, and these big weird sets that you don't know what to do with. The TARDIS is the biggest fucking waste of space possible.
Oh my god, there's a chair. There's a chair
in
for
the
like
middle
one
of the fucking
scene.
aisle. It's like, what? Why would you put it there? all this space, you put it fucking in the way.
There's talk about installing safety guards for Poppy, which...
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, it's. I want a new TARDIS. I want the movie TARDIS back, please. Best one.
so Anita is pregnant now. The head of HR is the dad, Ricardo, which is an interesting detail that we did need. Why is she pregnant? Is the actress pregnant? I don't know. She says her days off, she goes looking for a doctor. We get cameos from Matt Smith and Pertwee.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. I think it was
Um,
pretty bad as far as finales go.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything.
I think we haven't covered everything.
True.
Let's talk about Billie Piper. So this was leaked.
Yeah.
And much like last season with all the leaks, I was like, there's no way that's true. That's the dumbest thing I've ever read. And it was, of course, 100% true at the end of the episode. The Doctor regenerates. A weird regeneration. Weird place to regenerate. At the fucking edge
my
door
God,
of the TARDIS. I'm like, you're going to fall out.
In front of Joy, the star from Joy to the World, because this episode is the only episode this season that directly calls back to that Christmas special for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Who knows? But it was a weird regeneration in that he was just kind of like hovering outside of the TARDIS because they didn't want to blow up the TARDIS set again. And he regenerates into Billie Piper, who goes, "Oh, hello." Initial reaction that I've seen from this from strangers or friends or people that casually watch the show is, "Ooh, this is exciting. This is awesome. I can't wait to see what they do with Billie Piper as the Doctor. I think that this is going to be really interesting. I think this is really going to be compelling. And I think it's terrible. I think it's one of the worst ideas I've ever seen for someone to be the Doctor, you know?
When the whole bi-generation thing happened between Tennant and Gatwa, people online, the people who are like Conrad, who think like Conrad, who are racist, people were thinking, hey, if Ncuti Gatwa is a failure, they're just going to go back to David Tennant and pretend like the whole thing never happened. Instead, we go back to Billie Piper, which is basically the fucking same thing.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And
which gives an indication to those kind of people that Gatwa was a failure. It didn't work. Nobody liked him, which is fucking huge shame.
What I think is really annoying is I think Billie Piper can do the role.
Yeah.
I think she's a great actor. I think she would be an interesting Doctor if she was to perform it. Again, we've not actually got a full confirmation that she is going to be the Doctor.
Yeah, every time they cast a new Doctor and they do the regeneration scene, the credits always say introducing so and so as the Doctor. It just says introducing Billie Piper, which doesn't fucking make sense in the context of the episode, because Billie Piper's been in the show before.
And also, Russell T Davies hasn't confirmed that she's going to be the 16th. The BBC did an article about it, and they had a lot of vague sentences around, like, is she going to be the Doctor? Is she not going to be the Doctor? We don't know.
Fucking Russell T Davies doesn't even know at this point, I bet.
Oh, yeah, he's got no idea.
He's like, okay, there's an alternative draft where Ncuti Gatwa wakes up next to David Tennant in this alternate Earth.
Yeah.
And Rose and the Doctor have just swapped bodies. That's a possibility.
But I saw one theory that it's because he put his energy into the heart of the TARDIS, and that's what Rose looked into, what made her like die, and then it's gonna be like he's like Bad Wolf or something, which I think is terrible. But it was this idea that the whole core heart of Doctor Who, the thing that makes it so good, is that when the Doctor regenerates, the show regenerates. Yep. We get new writers in, we get a new actor in, we get unknowns, and we get to build a new relationship with a new actor taking on the role, doing something different. We're not just fucking regurgitating 2005 over and over and over again. We are moving. The show constantly moves on. It's a show that can last forever because every era is distinct and separate and changes. It doesn't fucking come back on itself and eat itself alive because it's so dependent on you having previous knowledge of other Doctors and other histories of the show, And,
when you did David Tennant came back, that was fine. It's the 60th anniversary. Yeah. Ncuti Gatwa was obviously busy with sex education. You can't commit to it, and it would be weird to cast a brand new Doctor for a 60th anniversary. That's a bit too much pressure. But when you do nothing with David Tennant, which makes me think we're going to do nothing with Billie Piper. Like, there's no reason for David Tennant to have that face again, other than he was...
What, to see Donna, I guess, and do that storyline.
He wanted to go home. I don't...
Yeah.
What the fuck was the reason? It's been a while.
He needed therapy or something.
And then he gets no therapy because nothing changes between the 15th.
Yeah. But no, I think...
It's just really fucking desperate.
It is. It reeks of being. It reeks of being like, we need people to talk about the show. We want people to watch the show. We need something to get people back into the. And rather than like just writing good episodes of TV and just having an interesting cast, they're jumping in gimmicks. They're doing gimmicks. They're trying to do, which is fine for short-term fixes, but it's not going to be a long-term solution, is it?
Yeah.
The fundamental problem with Doctor Who is that it's doing these gimmicks, is that it's relying too hard on its past nostalgia to try and keep itself alive, rather than trying to do something interesting and new and presenting itself in a new way. It's annoying as fuck. Get someone else on the show, please.
Yes.
I agree with Chris Chibnall. Fire Russell T Davies.
Yeah, you mean Christopher Eccleston?
Nah, Chris Chibnall as well. He says secretly.
Christopher Eccleston was a big fan of the idea of
I saw this clip. Yeah. He was like, cast Billie Piper because I want to see all your fans' brains explode.
Which, if this was the 14th Doctor, I would be like, holy shit, this is a great idea. I'm so excited to see what they do with her. She's only committed to like either one episode or one season. She's not committed to anything more than that. So this is a very short Doctor in the span. This is the 4th Doctor we've had this decade.
Yeah, they're dropping like prime
ministers.
ministers.
It's only 2025.
Yeah,
the 16th Doctor. That's insane to think about. We were just on the 13th Doctor.
Yeah.
The last season of Stranger Things premiered when Jodie Whittaker was still the Doctor.
Yeah, you can tell that we're in an era now where the show is like, what the fuck do we do when they're dropping Doctors like crazy, when they're trying to find someone to fill in that role.
It's clear that something has gone wrong with the Disney expectations.
Yeah.
I think they expected Disney to make a statement, renew the contract, a commitment to it by the end of last year, because otherwise the plan Russell T Davies' line when he says the plan all along was that they will make a decision after season 2.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lie.
Well, I think they had there was this thing recently. I don't think Disney give a shit about Doctor Who, and I don't think they have any intention of funding it anymore. There was a thing that Tony Gilroy, the showrunner of Andor, they just released all the finances for it. It cost $650 million to make 2 seasons. That's almost $1 billion to make these 2 seasons of that show. They only got one note, which was saying you can't say fuck the Empire in season 1. And in season 2, they said streaming is dead. So do what you like. But we're not giving you any more money because streaming is dead.
It's a model that fucking does not make sense. And
it's based on exponential growth, and there's only so many people, and there's too many streaming services.
And every fucking corporation is like, okay, we need a streaming service. We need. Sony are the only smart ones who are like, okay, we will license our properties to other services like Netflix or Disney.
Yeah, we'll make way more money, and we don't have to pay the server costs. But really, what they should do is physical media.
Yes.
Look, wow, it's so much better. I can watch all of these whenever I want for free.
You don't have to worry about any rights being expired.
Exactly. You know, it is terrible, and there's just too many streaming services. I expect the Disney deal doesn't go through. I think we go back to BBC model.
And also, another big thing is, of course, Donald Trump and his fucking tariffs. He's threatening tariffs of any production made outside the USA, which would make Disney squeamish about the idea of committing to any program made outside of the US. God knows if those tariffs will ever happen, but even at this point where Donald Trump is threatening tariffs, I think Disney are reasonable to be like, okay, we're not going to make any commitments at the moment, just in case.
I think it's going to be BBC production again. Lower budget, maybe more episodes. You know, if they can...
I'm thinking maybe like 10-episode seasons, but there's going to be longer gaps between each season.
Sure, I think we might go back to like the Jodie style era where it was like 2 years between seasons, you know? Which is fine. Like, as long as the scripts are good. I don't mind waiting for a good script, you know? But I guess we're not actually done with the Disney era yet, because we still have the war between the land and the sea with the sexy fish people. Because they redesigned the Sea Devils again.
God
to make
knows
them
if
bangable.
those are the Sea Devils, but we haven't seen an actual Sea Devil, which makes sense as to this is.
Well, they kind of just look like the Silurians now, but fishy. Which is gonna be, it's gonna be that guy bangs that Sea Devil lady.
Which is so weird because we just had a Sea Devil episode 3 years ago where they looked like the classic
that episode's
era.
a fucking fever dream. There's like no plot in that episode.
But I'll watch it any day over this episode, to be honest with you, at least. But yeah, we are not sure what the fuck is going to happen to the future of this show, either way.
I think well, the BBC said they're committed to it continuing on, didn't they? So at least they've outwardly expressed, like, no, there will be Doctor Who. So, like, Doctor Who will continue. What that looks like, if Billie Piper is involved, if there's another Doctor, if there's just, like... I think they should do my prequel idea. Go back to the fucking Fugitive Doctor, and let's just start the show again from minus 10 Doctor. You know, we're on minus 10. We're now in the fucking BC era of Doctor Who.
I just want Doctor Who to keep looking forward instead of constantly looking behind.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely...
It's the death toll. It's what kills shows. It's what kills anything. It's like, you know, the issue with the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
In episodes like episode 9 particularly, where it's like, do you remember Star Wars? I like Star Wars. Look, what if we got back to Star Wars things instead of doing what they kind of set out to do in The Last Jedi, which is, let's challenge you. Let's do something different. Let's do something out there and experimental.
Yeah, I need the show... Like, fan service is fine in small quantities, and if it's done right. Yeah. This is, you know, they brought back... Russell T Davies so far has brought back The Toymaker. Yeah. The Toymaker was fine, mostly because he was played by Neil Patrick Harris.
Hated how they solved it, though.
Yeah.
Just a game of catch, a really shit fucking visual game to play.
And then they brought back Sutekh in the most dumb way possible. With,
Yeah, big
I
dog.
was always here,
I'm a
clinging on to the
Scooby-Doo
target.
villain.
And
Ooh.
I was scared by this lady who wore a cloak.
Yeah.
Russell T Davies said the mother only wore a cloak because it generates content. It adds to
The mystery.
the mystery. Yeah.
And she pointed at a sign.
A sign that wasn't there.
And Ruby made it snow all that times for
Yeah,
no
it's
fucking reason.
never
That
gonna be
never gets
explained.
answered. Yeah.
We brought back the Ranis, did nothing with them.
Yep. Yep.
And then you did
Omega, yeah.
did nothing with him.
Yep.
Like,
It's cool. It's a really good strategy.
and there's been no, like,
Brought back Davros for that Children in Need special.
yeah,
Did nothing with him.
no.
Ruined him.
I mean, there's no iconic monsters of this era. You can think of, like, the slugs, but they're not really villains.
The slugs, yeah. Lux was interesting. The cartoon man. I guess visually more
Dugadoo,
than...
yeah, Dugadoo is
Dugadoo,
fine,
he's
but
probably the peak of the... era.
I think you need to go back to traditional monsters because,
Yeah.
again, every episode this season has been pretty much about allegories,
Yeah.
which kids on the streets in the
On the
playground,
streets.
kids in the
In
playground
their gangs.
kids in the playground aren't going to be like, oh, did you see that Doctor Who episode this week with the guy with the horns and he wants to commit genocide?
Yeah.
Let's pretend we're them.
Yeah. No, I think you got to space out. You can have episodes like that, which I think are important to have, but then also have a monster of the week. Have
Right.
it just a spooky villain.
Yeah, you can do
know?
both.
Yeah.
You can do both.
Yeah. And that's what made Doctor Who so good was the variety. Some weeks you would get a horror episode, sometimes you would get this really compelling lore episode, sometimes you would just get a silly, goofy episode.
Like when we saw Colin Baker at Comic Con, at the panel, he was like, I knew Doctor Who was back because he was a head teacher in 2005 apparently.
Oh, right.
And he said at the panel, he was like, I knew Doctor Who was an instant hit when I saw kids on the street, on the playgrounds. I don't know.
Kids that you're fucking...
when I heard kids on the playground running around saying, "Are you my mummy?"
Yeah.
I knew Doctor Who was a hit again because of that.
God, I remember that was such a cool time. Doctor Who merchandise everywhere.
Fucking Doctor Who battles and time
Oh my
cards. Oh my
God.
god.
Couldn't escape. I long for those days.
Like, which is weird. You're trying to generate content, but there's nothing in terms of like merchability. There's no iconic monsters. There's no gas mask zombies anymore. There's like there's no fear in any episode. I don't feel scared of any episode.
No. I mean, like, part of that is possibly just we're grown-ups.
But I don't think there's anything that kids would be scared
Maybe
of.
the well. They might be a bit scared of that.
Maybe.
That has got vibes, It's not you never see anything outwardly scary,
But again,
you have people going like, ooh.
That episode exists because it calls back.
Yeah, it's a sequel episode to another spooky episode. Yeah, I know it's part of the same problem of Doctor Who just fucking eating its own ass.
Yeah.
The
last episode I think I really fucking loved was Wild Blue Yonder.
Really?
I loved how insane that episode was, and it was a fun time.
You like that episode more than me. I thought the
Yeah.
episode was fine. I think it's really slow to start with, and then gets a bit insane. But it's probably one of the stronger episodes from this era. Boom for me is still my favorite episode out of this entire new batch of Russell T Davies era stuff, which is so funny because it's written by Stephen Moffat. But it was good. It had drama. I had a dumb kid. I disliked the kid in that episode.
Oh yeah, there's a point in the episode where Belinda is very excited about the fact that she has a planet named after her. I was expecting Ruby to be like, I was named after a road. That's more exciting.
Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, the final words from Anita is the boss says hello, and the Doctor's like, okay, I'll put that in a box for later. The Doctor literally says that.
The boss. Maybe that's the boss that Beep the Meep was talking about.
Yeah, I think it's the same boss.
Yeah.
Which I don't fucking give a shit.
Who's the boss of the Time Hotel? The Master.
Fuck no.
The Time Meddler. It is the Time
Maybe.
Meddler. It has to be. He's the boss. He left the fucking
That would be nice.
Dark Ages, wherever he was at, to run a hotel.
Because he was, I think he was pitched to come back in like 2015, and they wanted Matt Berry.
Oh, Matt Berry would be great as the
Matt Berry would be
Time
great.
Meddler. He'd be great as the Doctor.
Yeah.
I think he'd be an interesting Doctor. I really want to see, what's his name? Martin Sheen? Not Martin Sheen. Is it Martin Sheen?
Yeah.
He did Good
Michael
Omens.
Sheen.
Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen is Charlie Sheen's dad.
Yeah.
Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen would be interesting. Martin. Yeah.
Martin Sheen would be interesting, yeah. But I think Michael Sheen would be a fucking excellent Doctor. He reminds me so much of like Peter Davidson.
Yeah.
You know, where you could like stick him in like a cricket outfit.
But then doesn't that just kind of go back to the whole David Tennant thing again?
What? He's
'Cause
not David Tennant.
I
He
know
does projects with David Tennant.
I know he's not David Tennant, but in the last decade, he's mainly been associated with
Sure.
David Tennant.
But I think that that's a good way of being able to get people that like David
Maybe.
Tennant to back, because they're like, oh, I like this guy as well. And I think that he would bring interesting dynamic to
He
the
would,
role that
yeah.
wouldn't be like David Tennant. He would kind of make it his own thing.
I could see him being a more alien Doctor,
Yeah.
kind of like a gentleman-y Doctor. We
That's what I'm
haven't
saying.
had
Kind
for
of like
while,
a little
yeah.
bit Peter Davidson-ish.
Yeah.
I think he could be. Maybe it's just the blonde hair that.
But yeah, I don't know how to feel about this show anymore. I'm kind of.
It's pretty stinker. It's a pretty stinker season. Pretty stinker. But we'll see what the war between the land and the sea brings. The trailer didn't really excite me, if I'm being honest.
No,
Dude's buff as fuck.
Yeah.
He was bulky, way bulkier than when I last saw him. My God.
We did get confirmation that the guy who composed Mission Impossible Fallout and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is doing the score for the war between the land and the sea.
Interesting.
Which you're in the middle. You're at the start of rewatching.
Yeah, I just watched Mission Impossible 1 the other day again.
When you get to Fallout, I need you to pay attention to the score, because the
Okay.
fucking score in Fallout is fucking incredible. It's
Nice.
really fucking good.
I really liked Mission Impossible 1. I liked it more watching it recently than I did the first time I watched it.
Mission
again.
Impossible is one of those franchises where you're watching it for the first time and you're like, this is kind of hokey, but
Yeah.
I'm into it.
I still think they're too long. They get to a point in the movies where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done now.
This new one is 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And it also suffers from what Doctor Who does by having those constant flashbacks. Or is
Yeah.
one of the final flashbacks of the Wish World, whatever fucking episode is called, when Belinda's like talking about Poppy, she has to go back home for Poppy. We get flashbacks to Poppy from like 10 minutes ago in the episode, as if we don't know who Poppy is.
Yeah.
You've said her name like 30 different times.
I never liked when they brought back the flashbacks in the first of season 1 with Shruti either. I was like, you're treating us like idiots. We don't need flashbacks, you know.
Sometimes the flashbacks are cool. Like, when they first did a proper flashback was when the Doctor and Donna are in the toy maker's shop.
Sure.
And they flash back
To the first Doctor,
which was really cool.
Yeah.
It really was cool.
Or when they flash back to things from like 5 seconds ago. It's like, what am I watching? Like an anime or something?
Yeah, somebody did a compilation of all the flashbacks of this season. It's a 5-minute long video.
My God. Yeah. Oh well.
I am deeply embarrassed. I don't know what the future of this show is. I imagine we won't get. Maybe there will be a Christmas episode. Maybe there will be specials next year.
No Christmas special this year for sure.
It depends on when we film it. We could film it in September and get it out by Christmas.
I guess, yeah.
That's the last month they can do it. I would say it's like 40% likely at this time, but
I can see that they do a Christmas special with Billie Piper. That's like the only thing she does.
Yeah.
But
I can't believe we're almost about to lose another Doctor.
yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe she'll be like longer than Tom Baker in the role. Who knows?
Yeah, she just surprises us all and does 8 years.
Yeah. Although, I didn't mention this point before. The idea of the Doctor turning into his ex-girlfriend is fucking gross. It's absolutely gross and disgusting. It's like, I've lived for thousands of years since meeting and falling in love with this teenager. Now I'm going to turn back into her. It's gross.
I've seen people online saying they half expected a line saying, "Oh, I know this team.
Yeah.
I know this, Mike." Wait, the Doctor doesn't even have a reaction to regenerating into Billy Piper.
No, it's just,
Like,
oh, hello.
There's no fucking way the Doctor knows they're now Billy Piper.
Yeah.
Like, like, all we can see is the tip of their nose,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
in terms of who they are.
Yeah.
And that is easily the worst looking regeneration, with just her face plastered over Ncuti Gatwa's body. It's also off center.
Yeah. It's not great, but
It's embarrassing, honestly. I am embarrassed.
yeah, it's pretty stinky smelly. But that was the Doctor Who Season 2 finale. I don't think it's going to age very well. There's some banger episodes in this season, and I still think it was for the most part worth watching. But that finale really puts a sour taste in my mouth, like what happened last year with the finale. But what will we be back next with, Scott? I don't know what's
looking
next.
up now.
Yeah, what are we next doing? There might be a little bit of a break. I'm on holiday next week.
Yeah. We are back on June 27th.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
With the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane Smith? It's an episode
Awesome.
where a wish is made and Sarah Jane is blinked out of existence.
Oh, that seems similar to what we just saw.
Yes, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, so we will be back. We're taking most of June off to recover from this horrible season of Doctor Who. But we will be back towards the end of June covering a Sarah Jane episode. So that's exciting. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. We are nearly at 100 subscribers, and I'm sure we will get there pretty soon. We have fucking hundreds of other podcasts if you enjoyed this one, where you can sit and listen to us ramble on about the problems of the writing of Doctor Who. I swear, we do like the show. We're only so harsh on it because we like it that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the show, give it a like, subscribe. Follow us everywhere. Get us to 100 subs. That would be very cool. The podcast is in person now. I'm liking this dynamic in person.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. This headset microphone is really weird. I couldn't stop fidgeting with it. And at times I forget it's there. It's just like out the way. It's like weird not talking into this big bulky thing in my face. But everything looks like it was recording fine. So we'll find
fingers
out.
crossed. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed we don't have to do this again. 'Cause
It's been a long episode.
I think I would shoot myself.
Yeah.
If I talk about this episode again.
It's been an interesting time, but thank you very much for listening and or watching. We're available also in audio form, Spotify, and everywhere you get podcasts. Just look up Who Watches Who. We're all over the place, and we will see you at the end of June for Sarah Jane. Bye.
Bye.